Have you ever filled out an online form that felt, well, effortless? You know, the kind where you just sort of breeze through it, putting in your details, not really thinking about it?
Yeah, just smooth sailing.
Exactly. Or what about looking at a report? And it just instantly gives you exactly the information you need, like no mental gymnastics involved. It feels like magic, right?
Definitely.
But then there's the flip side. We've all been there. Those forms that make you want to just, I don't know, throw your computer out the window, or reports that honestly leave you more confused than when you started.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely frustrating.
So what's the deal? What's the magic behind the good ones and maybe the misery behind the bad ones? The digital world doesn't run on magic. It runs on systems. And learning to design them starts right here. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a really crucial and I think often underestimated part of systems analysis and design, crafting effective forms and reports.
That's right. We're digging into Chapter 10 from Valacich and George's Modern Systems Analysis and Design, but we're also, pulling in some real-world perspectives from UX and design pros to really flesh it out.
And this deep dive, it isn't just theory, is it? It's really about understanding that whole systematic process, the analysis, the design, the implementation of software systems, which is, well, it's absolutely essential for anyone looking to make their mark in the digital world. Doesn't matter if you're a student, maybe at the Dr. Sam Pack College of Business, or already out there working.
Exactly. We're hitting on those critical skills you use right at the beginning of the system development lifecycle. We'll look at, traditional ways, current methods, how theory meets practice.
Yeah, and we'll uncover why forms and reports, these things we interact with constantly, are often the very first and maybe the most lasting impression users get of a system, and how getting their design right, that can be a serious game changer for your career. Now, before we unpack this any further, if you're already finding value in these insights, maybe take just a second to like, subscribe, share this deep dive, maybe with someone who could use a shortcut to getting well informed.
Yeah, your support really helps us keep bringing these kinds of insights out, helping you get positioned for a really bright future in whatever career you choose.
Absolutely. And remember, check out the description below. There's a ton of additional resources there for you to continue your journey.
It's so true what you said earlier, that seemingly simple thing, filling out a form, looking at a report, it can genuinely make or break a user's whole experience with the system.
Right. It feels so fundamental.
It is. And a lot of users, they actually equate the quality of the entire system with just how good its forms and reports are. And what's really interesting is that this isn't just about making things look pretty. It's a direct reflection of how thoughtful, how efficient the underlying system actually is.
And efficiency, well, it usually translates to better business outcomes, doesn't it?
Always.
So, okay, let's start right at the beginning then. What exactly are forms and reports when we talk about system design, and why are they, so critically important?
Okay, yeah, let's nail those definitions down. So when we talk about forms, what we mean is a business document. It's got some predefined data already in it, right?
Yeah.
But the key thing is it also has areas for the user to add more information, to provide input.
Okay, so it's interactive. You're putting stuff in.
Yeah, exactly. Think of them as the main way you input data. And usually they're designed to capture data for just like one single record in a database. A perfect example. That online registration page you fill out for an event or maybe a customer order form on an e-commerce site, you're actively adding your specific data into the system.
Right. Okay, so forms are how we talk to the system, how we feed it information, and then reports. They're kind of the system talking back to us.
That's a great way to put it. Reports are more passive. They're business documents, but they only contain predefined data. Their whole purpose is just for reading or viewing. You're not adding anything.
Got it. Just consuming.
Exactly. And unlike forms, reports often pull together and summarize data from lots of different records or transactions. They give you an overview or maybe a detailed breakdown. Think about, say, a monthly sales summary showing trends over time.
Or like my bank statement.
Perfect. Or a customer account statement, yeah. Or even those big public sustainability reports companies put out. You're just consuming information that the system has already gathered and processed.
Okay, so forms gather, reports present. Simple enough. But you mentioned earlier that users often judge the whole system based on these, especially in like online shopping, e-commerce. Why is that link so strong there?
Well, because the impact is so immediate and direct, especially on the bottom line. For internet-based commerce, think about it. A smooth, easy experience on a form, maybe the checkout page, that can literally be the difference between making a sale and losing a customer right at the final step.
Oof, yeah. Abandoned carts. the nightmare.
Exactly.
Hmm.
If a user hits a form that's confusing, frustrating, or takes too long, or maybe they look at a report like an order confirmation and it's unclear, they're just much more likely to give up and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So user-focused design here isn't just, a nice to have, it's fundamental business strategy.
Right. It directly impacts conversions, satisfaction,
Yeah,
the works.
absolutely. It ensures every interaction is efficient, intuitive, and that directly helps the business succeed.
Makes perfect sense. Nobody wants to fight with a website, especially when they're trying to give it money. So, okay, how do we actually design these crucial things? Is it like a one and done deal, build it once, move on?
Oh, definitely not. Far from it. The design process for forms and reports, it's highly iterative. Prototyping is really at the heart of it.
Iterative. So like cycles of building and testing.
Precisely. It always starts with genuinely understanding who the user is and what they're trying to achieve with this form or report. What are their task objectives? So you collect those initial requirements, and then you jump into this cycle. You construct something, you evaluate it, you refine it, you construct again.
I often think of it kind of like a sculptor. They start with maybe a rough wireframe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before they even touch the clay, get the basic shape down, then keep refining, adding detail, polishing until it's just right. Is that a fair analogy?
That's an excellent analogy.
Yeah.
In UX design, wireframes are exactly that. They're those initial tangible things, often really lean, just the layout to quickly see if an idea is even worth pursuing further. And that initial phase involves asking some really key questions to guide that first prototype. We absolutely need to know who is going to use this thing,
Okay, the who, why is that so critical?
because it forces you to consider their roles, their experience levels. Are they a total novice who needs a lot of hand-holding, maybe clear steps? Or are they an experienced power user who values speed, flexibility, maybe keyboard shortcuts? Think about the difference between, say, patient-admitting staff who use a complex system all day, every day.
Right, versus maybe a cashier who only looks at a specific sales report once a shift.
Exactly. Their needs are vastly different. That understanding directly influences the design.
Okay, so who? What else guides that initial prototype?
Well, beyond the who, there's the what. What is the actual purpose of this form or report? What decisions are going to be made based on this report? What specific data is absolutely essential for this form to capture?
And presumably when it's needed is also critical.
Oh, hugely. When is it needed or used? Is it daily, weekly, quarterly? Timeliness is everything, especially for reports. A brilliantly designed report that shows up a week after the decision needed to be made, it's basically useless, right? Just historical data at that point.
Okay. Actionable insight needs to be timely. Makes sense.
Then there's where. Where does this form or report need to be delivered or used? Is it mainly on a tiny mobile screen, a big desktop monitor? Maybe it needs to be printed out physically. A design optimized for a large screen just won't work well on a phone, and vice versa.
And finally, how many people?
Right. How many people need to use it or view it? Is it just for one person's use? Is it shared across a whole department? Or is it maybe a public report that needs to scale and be understood by a wide audience? These questions, they directly feed into those initial requirements and shape the first prototype. They help us understand the needs across different roles, different departments, the whole organizational context, really.
And this whole iterative process, this constant cycle of build, test, refine, it sounds like it's not just a design thing, but deeply woven into the entire system development lifecycle, the SDLC.
Oh, absolutely embedded. This iterative approach, it's a real hallmark of the SDLC, especially during those stages where we're implementing the system and refining it. It allows the team to constantly adapt to user feedback, maybe changing requirements, ensuring that the final system actually meets the user needs and the overall business goals.
It's where the rubber meets the road, translating requirements into something real.
Exactly. And this is where we implicitly start using those tools and concepts from systems analysis, like UML diagrams, thinking about use case diagrams for how users will interact with the interface, activity diagrams for mapping out the business process flows, and class diagrams for figuring out the underlying database structure. It's all part of bringing that system design to life.
Okay, so we've gone through this back and forth, this iterative dance. We've prototyped, tested, refined. What do we actually end up with? What are the deliverables? What do we hand over to the folks who will actually, build the thing?
The main deliverable is a really comprehensive design specification. Think of it as the detailed blueprint. It's absolutely crucial for clear communication, especially if the designers and the implementers, the developers, are different people, or if you're working in a large team.
Okay, a blueprint. What's typically in it?
It usually breaks down into three main sections: First, you've got a narrative overview. This kind of sets the stage. It describes the users, the tasks they'll perform, the system itself, any environmental factors that might matter. It clearly explains why this form or report is needed and how it's going to be used. It gives that vital context.
Context is king, right?
Always. Second is the sample design. This is the visual part. It could be an image from a coding sheet, maybe a screenshot from a form building tool, or even a really detailed paper prototype. This directly connects to those visual deliverables we talked about, wireframes, mock-ups, maybe even interactive prototypes that let stakeholders actually see and feel the design before any code gets written.
See it before you build it. Makes sense. And the third part.
The third part is absolutely vital, testing and usability assessment. This section documents all the results from testing. How did it perform? It measures quantifiable things. Consistency, was there enough information?
Yeah.
Sufficiency, was the data accurate? How quickly could a new user learn it? Learnability. How many errors did users make and could they recover easily? Error rate, were users happy with it? Satisfaction, and could they remember how to use it later? Memorability.
Wow, so it's not just does it look okay, but actual performance metrics.
Exactly. It moves way beyond just aesthetics.
Yeah.
It proves the design's effectiveness. It shows you've really understood and applied those fundamental system concepts about usability and effectiveness. It's like handing over not just the blueprint, but also the engineering report, showing it meets all the performance specs.
That is incredibly thorough. A blueprint and a performance report for the construction crew. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Precisely. And this leads us perfectly into digging a bit deeper into usability itself. Because, as we've kind of been saying all along, the user is really at the absolute core of all this design work.
Right. Let's really unpack that term, usability. We've tossed it around a bit, but what does it actually mean in the context of designing forms and reports? Why is it such a cornerstone?
Okay, so usability. Fundamentally, it's an overall evaluation. It measures how effectively a system supports a specific user doing a specific task. It's not just about, can the function be done? Does the button exist? It's about the whole experience of using that function.
The quality of the interaction.
Exactly. It's a core systems concept. It ensures our systems aren't just technically functional, but genuinely helpful, intuitive, easy to use. And we often break it down into 5 key dimensions, 5 facets, if you will.
Okay, what are they?
First up is learnability. This asks, how hard is it for a user to do a task the first time they encounter it? A faster learning curve? That's a direct benefit of good, consistent design. It makes the system feel intuitive, and honestly, it reduces training costs too.
Makes sense. Get users up to speed quickly. What's next?
Second is efficiency, or you could call it speed of performance. Once users actually know how to do something, how quickly can they get it done? This is super critical for forms that get used frequently. Think about searching for a flight on a travel website. Every second counts for the user and for the business trying to make the sale.
Yeah, speed matters there. Okay, number 3.
Third is the error rate. How many mistakes or errors is a user likely to run into? And, just as importantly, how easily can they recover when they do make an error?
Oh, I can definitely relate to that one. There is nothing worse than getting an error message that just says, error. That's it.
Right. It's like your car's check engine light comes on, but instead of telling you what's wrong, the dashboard just flashes, problem, good luck, useless.
Utterly useless.
Yeah.
And frustrating.
Exactly. So a well-designed error message, and we'll definitely talk more about those later, it drastically reduces that frustration and helps the user get back on track quickly and easily.
Okay, good. What's number 4?
The fourth dimension is memorability, or, retention over time. How easy is it for someone to remember how to do a task when they come back to the system after being away for a while, maybe weeks or even months?
Ah, so they don't have to relearn everything every time.
Precisely. Consistent actions, consistent design, it helps things become second nature. Users can return and pick up where they left off without a steep relearning curve.
Okay, and the last one. You mentioned 5.
The fifth is satisfaction and aesthetics. This one's a bit more subjective, but still important. It's about how enjoyable the system's visual appeal is, and just generally how pleasant the system is to use. The visual design, including things like color psychology, plays a really big role here. It influences emotional responses, overall user sentiment towards the system.
So it's really the whole journey, isn't it? From that first interaction through regular use right down to how it makes you feel.
Exactly. The entire user journey.
And I'm guessing that journey looks very different depending on who the user is, what they're trying to do, maybe even where they're doing it. How much does that context really shift the design approach?
Fundamentally. It shifts it fundamentally. The impact of context on design is massive. Think about user characteristics first. A brand new user, a novice, they might need more on-screen help, maybe more obvious buttons for common features.
More hand-holding.
Right. But an experienced user, they'll likely prefer flexibility, maybe keyboard shortcuts, less clutter. They know their way around. Think about designing that patient intake form for someone who uses it 8 hours a day versus, say, a customer satisfaction survey someone fills out maybe once, ever. Totally different needs.
Okay. And the task itself?
Task characteristics matter too. Is it familiar data entry, like typing in your address, something you do all the time? Or is it something totally new and complex, like configuring network settings? Is it a task they do frequently or rarely? All of this influences the layout, how much help text you provide, even the level of detail you show on a related report.
And what about the tech, the actual system, the device? That must be a huge constraint, maybe opportunity.
Oh, huge factor. System and technology constraints are really significant. The type of software, is it an old-school desktop application or a modern web app? That dictates a lot about what's even possible. Screen size, too, is fundamental. Designing for a tiny smartwatch screen is a world away from designing for a huge desktop display.
And even download speed, you mean?
Yeah, especially for web applications. Download speed matters a lot. You'd want to use lightweight graphics, efficient code, make sure pages load quickly. Otherwise, users get impatient, they get frustrated, and they just leave.
Yeah.
Especially true in e-commerce.
Right. And the environment. You mentioned even where the person is physically using it matters. That feels subtle. Does it really have that big an impact?
You would be surprised. Environmental characteristics can really affect things. Think about distractions in a noisy, busy office. Or maybe someone under serious time pressure. Even just poor lighting conditions.
Huh. Okay, give me an example.
Sure. Imagine a delivery driver trying to use a form on a tablet out in bright sunlight. They'd need large, high-contrast buttons, right? Compare that to an office worker sitting at a well-lit desk with plenty of time. Totally different environmental factors influencing the design needs. Understanding all these variations, user, task, system, environment, helps us create designs that are adaptable, robust, and actually fit into the user's real world.
Okay. So we've covered the what, the why, the who, the where. Now the big question, how do we actually do it? How do we craft these visual experiences? What are the sort of universal guidelines for making any form or report truly work?
Right. This is where we get into the practicalities, where the sort of art meets the science or the engineering. Let's start with structure and hierarchy. This is all about guiding the user's eye, making sense of the information.
Okay, structure. Like headings and stuff.
Exactly. Headings, subheadings, bullet points, numbered lists. You know, it's interesting. Design experts like Red Onion often point out that a common failing, especially in reports, is a lack of clear structure.
Things just look like a wall of text or numbers.
Precisely. They compare it to a ship overloaded with cargo that starts to sink. The information becomes incredibly hard to follow. The main point gets lost in all the visual noise.
So it's not just having the info, it's making it easy to find and understand.
Yeah. Exactly. Discoverable and understandable. The solution is to use those structural elements, headings, bullets, etc., to create a kind of visual roadmap for the reader. Break things down into digestible chunks. And for reports, pay special attention to the executive summary. Let's be honest, that's often the only part everyone reads.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
We all are. So thinking about how information is grouped, how it's prioritized, maybe chronologically, maybe by theme, maybe structured around an argument that's crucial for a logical flow. A clear structure makes it readable, make sure your key message actually lands. The takeaway here is that good structure isn't just about looking neat. It's a powerful tool for clear written communication, vital for anyone presenting findings.
Okay, solid structure first. Then what about the words themselves? The text, the fonts, typography? I feel like that's an area where things can go wrong pretty fast.
Oh, absolutely. The power of text, how it looks, it's huge and often underestimated. The big mistake, as Red Onion notes, is using way too many different fonts or picking ones that are just hard to read. Yeah. That quickly leads to confusion, visual clutter, even eye strain for the reader.
So less is more. Keep it simple.
Pretty much. The key principle here is consistency. Stick to a consistent, clean font family. Be really mindful of size and spacing, using the same typeface or maybe a very limited, well-chosen palette of typefaces across all your forms and reports. That not only helps with brand identity, but it also seriously reduces the cognitive load on the user. They don't have to constantly adjust to different visual styles.
I remember remember hearing somewhere that different font styles can actually suggest different things, like different personalities. Do designers really think about that?
Oh, absolutely they do. It's
Yeah.
part of visual communication. Red Onion gives some neat examples. Serif fonts, the ones with the little feet or curly bits like
Oh.
Times New Roman. They often convey a sense of tradition, maybe authority, superiority, as they put it. Think brands like Mercedes-Benz. Then you have sans serif fonts, clean lines, no feet, like Helvetica or Arial. These tend to feel more modern, maybe convey excitement. Brands like BMW often use these.
Interesting.
And slab fonts, kind of a mix with thicker, blocky serifs. They can convey safety or solidity. Think Volvo. These choices aren't usually accidental. They're part of the brand's strategic communication.
Wow. Okay, so font choice matters.
Right.
What about just displaying text clearly? Any hard and fast rules?
Definitely some strong guidelines. Spacing is important. Ideally use double spacing if you can, or at least ensure clear blank lines between paragraphs. Give the text room to breathe. For justification, generally, left-align text with a ragged right margin. That uneven right edge actually makes it easier for the eye to track back to the next line, especially for longer text blocks.
Huh. I never knew that's why they did that.
Yeah, it helps. Avoid hyphenating words between lines if you can. It disrupts the reading flow. Only use abbreviations if they're super common and genuinely shorter. Otherwise, you're just making the reader work harder. And please, please avoid overly fancy decorative fonts for body text. They might look cool for a headline, but they kill readability and professionalism in forms and reports. Simplicity really is effective here.
Okay, clear structure, clean text. Now, color. Color seems like a really powerful tool, but I've definitely seen it misused. Like data charts that look like a rainbow exploded.
Yeah.
How do we use color effectively without just making noise?
Color is incredibly powerful, you're right. It's often the first thing a reader processes. It's a strong emotional signal, as both Promotion and Red Onion point out. The common mistake is exactly what you said: inconsistent use, or just overuse. Too much color, clashing colors that distracts, confuses, and buries the actual information. That rainbow chart, often less effective than a simple, clean, monochrome one.
So what are the basics? What color theory concepts do designers need to get right?
Promotion has a great breakdown. First, hue. That's just the pure color itself: red, yellow, blue, green, etc. Then saturation, which is the intensity or purity of the color. Think vibrant, punchy accent versus a muted, subtle background. And brightness, or lightness, which is simply how light or dark the color is.
Hue, saturation, brightness, HSB. Got it.
Right. And the color wheel is your best friend for choosing combinations that work well together, that are harmonious. For example, complementary colors, those opposite each other on the wheel, like blue and orange or red and green. They create strong contrast. It can be really effective for accents, but you need to use them carefully.
And the psychology side. You mentioned emotional signals. How does color influence how people feel or act?
Oh, the psychology of color is fascinating and critical in design. You can use color to intentionally invoke certain emotions. Bright, warm colors like reds and oranges often create excitement, energy. Cool colors like blues and greens tend to feel calmer, more professional, trustworthy. Getting the color harmony right prevents users from feeling visually jarred or uncomfortable, encouraging them to stay engaged.
So it keeps them on the page.
It helps, yeah. It also helps design memorable experiences. A thoughtful mix of warm and cool colors used appropriately for different things, maybe a vibrant banner on an e-commerce site, versus a more subdued palette for a serious data report that can make a product or brand really stick in the user's mind. And crucially, color can directly improve sales and conversions.
How so?
Strategic color choices for things like calls to action, those buy now or sign up buttons, can significantly boost how many people click them. There are famous studies, like from HubSpot, showing how changing just the color of a button dramatically impacted conversion rates. It's not just decoration, it's a business tool.
Wow. Okay, so it's powerful stuff. How do we apply it responsibly? What are the best practices?
Good question. First, always follow brand and style guidelines. If there are established brand colors, use them consistently. It builds a cohesive identity. Your main dominant colors should reflect that brand personality. Second, ensure consistency everywhere. Don't use 5 different shades of blue for links across your site. Pick one and stick to it. It reduces confusion.
Okay, brand and consistency. What else?
The 60-30-10 rule is a really useful guideline for balance. Use about 60% of your space for your main dominant color, 30% for secondary color, and just 10% for an accent color. That's where your bright, attention-grabbing hues often go. Fourth, think about localization. Colors mean different things in different cultures. Red might mean danger or stop in one place, but good fortune in another. Be mindful to avoid unintentional negative messages.
Ah, good point. Culture matters.
Definitely. Fifth, use good contrast. This is critical for readability, and especially for accessibility for users with visual impairments or color blindness. There are online tools, contrast checkers, palette generators that can help ensure your combinations meet accessibility standards like WCAG. And finally, maybe most importantly, test your color choices. What you think works might not resonate with your actual users. A/B testing different color schemes, especially for things like buttons, can give you real data on what's most effective.
So color. Use it strategically, consistently, accessibly, and test it.
Got it. What about images and graphics? How do we make those work for the report or form, not against it?
Another area where things can go wrong, the big mistake, Red Onion points out, is using low-quality, generic, or irrelevant images. They use the example of hot air balloons for sustainability. It's a cliche, it doesn't really communicate anything specific, and it makes the brand feel generic.
Yeah, I've seen those generic stock photos everywhere. They kind of blend into the background.
Exactly. The solution is to use high-resolution, relevant images that genuinely support the content, that add meaning or clarity. And here's a key tip emphasized in our sources.
Yeah,
Try to ensure photos include people. We are just naturally drawn to human faces. It makes images instantly more engaging, more relatable, creates that human connection.
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Instantly more engaging. It really is.
Yeah.
Also remember balance. Use images, but also embrace white space. Don't cram everything together. Use visuals or call-out boxes to break up long blocks of text. Give the reader's eye a rest. And specifically for web applications, always use lightweight graphics. Optimize your images so they're small in file size. This ensures quick download times, faster page loads, which keeps users engaged. Especially vital in e-commerce. Slow-loading product images lose sales. The bottom line, images should enhance, clarify, and engage, not just fill empty space or slow things down.
Okay. And sometimes within all structure and visual design, you need to make specific bits of information really stand out. How do we handle highlighting effectively without, making it look like a ransom note with everything emphasized?
Yeah, the ransom note effect, avoid that. Think of highlighting like using a highlighter pen. It's powerful, but if you highlight the entire page, nothing stands out anymore. Its purpose is very specific, to draw attention to critical information.
Like what kind of information?
Typically, things like notifying users of errors in their data entry, or providing warnings, maybe about unusual data values, or if a device isn't available, or drawing attention to specific keywords, commands, high-priority messages, or maybe data that has just changed or been updated. The key insight here is judicious use. Use it sparingly so it maintains its impact.
Okay, use it sparingly for important stuff. What are the actual methods? How do we do the highlighting?
There are quite a few methods. You've got blinking text or audible tones. These are like your fire alarms.
Yeah.
Very effective for critical, urgent things. But use them too often, and they become incredibly annoying. Users might even tune them out.
Yeah, blinking text gives me flashbacks to the early web.
Right. Use with extreme caution. More common, and usually better, are things like color differences. Used consistently, of course. Intensity differences, like using bold text. Size differences, making key text larger. Font differences, like using italics. But again, avoid those super fancy fonts.
Okay, visual emphasis. What else?
You can use reverse video, which swaps the background and foreground colors, makes a block stand out. Boxing elements, just drawing a border around them. Simple underlining, using all capital letters, but use this one sparingly too, as long strings of caps can actually be harder to read than mixed case. And sometimes, simply offsetting the position of non-standard information, moving it slightly out of alignment, can be enough to draw the eye. The big takeaway. Highlighting is a call to action or attention. Use it like a spotlight, not a floodlight, to make sure your most critical messages get noticed and aren't lost in the noise.
Okay, that covers a lot of ground on general visual principles. Let's really zero in on form design now. When users are actively inputting information, what are the absolute best practices to make that process as smooth, as painless as possible?
Right, this is where we really apply those core systems concepts directly to the user interface. Luke Wroblewski, who's a real authority on form design, lays out some fundamental principles. First, and maybe most importantly, minimize the pain. Let's face it, nobody loves filling out forms.
True. It's usually a means to an end.
Exactly. So our job as designers is to make it as effortless as we possibly can. This means using smart defaults whenever possible, providing inline validation feedback right as they type, and designing inputs that are forgiving of minor errors, like extra spaces or different formatting.
Okay, minimize pain. What else?
Second, illuminate a clear path to completion. Guide the user. Make it obvious what they need to do next. Don't leave them guessing or feeling lost. And third, always consider the context. Is the data they're entering familiar, like their name and address, or is it something foreign and complex? Is this a form they'll use every day or just once a year? These contextual factors drastically change your design choices.
I can absolutely see how focusing on those principles would reduce frustration. Now, one specific thing that always seems to generate debate is label positioning.
Right.
Where do you put the label relative to the input field? Top, left, right. It feels like such a tiny detail, but does it really make that much difference?
Oh, it's a critical choice, not minor at all. And yeah, there's been research on this. Matteo Penzo did a fascinating eye tracking study back in 2006 that gave us some really solid insights.
Eye tracking, cool. What did it find?
Okay, let's break down the options. First, top-aligned labels. Labels directly above the input field. The big advantage, speed. Users capture both the label and the input field in basically a single glance, one eye movement. Penzo's study found this leads to the fastest completion times.
Fastest is good. When would you use this?
It's ideal when the data being collected is pretty familiar. Think name, email, address on a standard sign-up form, and when getting the user through quickly is the top priority. It also gives you more flexibility for long labels, like in different languages, because the text can wrap without messing up the horizontal alignment of the fields, the main downside. It takes up more vertical space on the screen.
Okay, top aligned for speed and familiar data, but uses more vertical space. What about labels on the side, like right aligned?
Right. Right-aligned labels, so they're horizontal, next to the field, aligned to the right edge, just before the field starts. These offer a very clear, close association between the label and its input field. They generally require less vertical space than top-aligned. Penzo's study found these also result in fast completion times, fewer visual fixations needed. The disadvantage: they can be harder to scan quickly down the page because the left edge of the labels is uneven, that left rag we talked about with text justification. It makes it slightly harder for the eye to find the start of each label consistently.
So, good association, saves vertical space, still pretty fast, but maybe slightly harder to scan the labels themselves?
Exactly. They work well when vertical screen space is tight and you need that really strong label field connection.
Okay. And the last option, left-aligned labels.
Left-aligned labels. Also horizontal, but aligned to the left margin. The main advantage here is scannability. It's very easy to scan down the list of labels because they all start at the same point. They also use less vertical space, like right-aligned. The association with the input field is generally good, according to Penzo, especially if the field is kept relatively close to the label. The potential disadvantage: if there's too much space between the end of the label and the start of the field, that visual connection can weaken, forcing users to take a bit more time to link them. Also, really long labels next to short labels can sometimes make the layout look a bit uneven.
When would left-aligned be the best choice then?
They're often best for forms with unfamiliar or more complex, maybe technical, data entry. Situations where users really need to carefully read and understand each label before they start typing in the corresponding field. The easy scannability helps them process the labels first.
Wow. Okay, so definitely not one size fits all. It really depends on the goal, the data type, the user. I remember seeing how YouTube's video upload form changed over the years. It felt like they were applying these kinds of principles, refining it constantly to make it easier.
That's a perfect real-world example. It shows that iterative design, constantly learning from user behavior, and applying these principles to refine the experience. It's not static.
So beyond label position, what other layout things should we keep in mind for forms?
Definitely think about content groupings. Logically group related fields together, maybe using white space or subtle borders. Don't make users jump mentally between unrelated topics. Use clear input affordances, visually signal what's expected. Indicate required fields clearly, maybe with an asterisk. Show expected formats like MMDDYYYY right near a date field, and maintain a strong visual hierarchy using size, bolding, placement to guide the user's eye smoothly through the form from top to bottom or section by section. Make the flow feel natural and obvious.
Okay, making it flow logically. Now, what happens when things don't go smoothly? Or when the system is doing something in the background? How do we handle feedback and errors without making the user feel stupid or frustrated?
Feedback. So important for building trust and managing expectations.
Yeah.
Let's start with error messaging. Rule number 1, clarity. Clearly communicate that an error occurred. Often best placed at the top of the form and using strong visual cues like red text or an alert icon. But crucially, don't just say error.
Right. Tell me how to fix it.
Exactly. Provide actionable remedies. Give specific instructions on what went wrong and how to correct it. Please enter a valid email address, not just invalid entry, and visually associate that error message directly with the field that caused the problem. Maybe highlight the field border in red and show the message nearby. Use that double visual language Luke Grabowski talks about to make sure it's seen and understood. Think like that helpful GPS again. Tells you you're off track, then immediately gives clear directions to get back on course.
Helpful, not punitive. I like that. What about when things are working, like when I hit submit? I hate that feeling of clicking a button and nothing seems to happen. Did it work? Am I submitting twice?
Oh yeah, that void is terrible. That's where progress feedback comes in. You must indicate when tasks are in progress. If an action takes time, submitting the form, calculating something, uploading a file, give immediate visual feedback. A loading spinner, a progress bar, even just a subtle animation. And absolutely critical, disable the submit button the instant the user clicks it.
Ah, to prevent double clicks.
Exactly. Prevents duplicate submissions, accidental clicks, and reassures the user that yes, the system received the request and is working on it. Saves user frustration and potential system problems.
Okay. And then the happy path. When everything goes right. How do we confirm success?
Success feedback is the final piece. Confirm the action was completed successfully, preferably right there in context. Maybe the page updates to show their new profile information, or the form clears and a clear message appears. Changes saved, or your order has been placed. You can use clear text messages, maybe a temporary banner, or even subtle animated indicators like a check mark that appears briefly. Good feedback for errors, progress, and success. It builds immense trust, smooths out the bumps, and makes the whole experience feel much more polished and user-friendly.
With so many people basically living on their phones now, responsive design for forms must be absolutely non-negotiable, right? Not just a nice extra.
Non-negotiable is exactly the word. It's fundamental. As design leaders like Red Onion and Pixel Free Studio constantly emphasize, a huge chunk, often the majority, of users are accessing reports and filling out forms on mobile devices. If you design only for desktop, you're guaranteeing a poor, frustrating experience for a massive part of your audience and likely losing business because of it.
So what does responsive actually mean for forms? How does it work?
It means the form adjusts smoothly, automatically, to different screen sizes and orientations. It should look and work intuitively, whether you're holding a small smartphone vertically, a tablet horizontally, or sitting at a large desktop monitor. It ensures that seamless experience across the board.
How do designers actually achieve that? Is it magic?
Not magic, just clever code and techniques. They use powerful layout tools like Flexbox and CSS Grid. Think of Flexbox as being great for arranging items in a line or row and letting them, well, flex, grow, or shrink to fit the space. CSS Grid is more like defining a two-dimensional grid, like graph paper, and placing elements precisely within that grid, which can also adapt to different screen sizes.
Okay, flexible layouts. What about the fields themselves?
Input fields and text areas need to be flexible too. Designers use relative units, like percentages or ems, for widths instead of fixed pixel values, so they stretch or shrink naturally with the screen. Buttons need to be touch-friendly, big enough to tap easily with a finger, with enough space around them, padding, so you don't accidentally hit the wrong one. That's crucial on touchscreens.
And I've seen forms where options appear or disappear based on my answers.
Yes, that's conditional logic. It's a great technique for improving the user experience. You can show or hide certain fields based on what the user enters in a previous field. For example, only show the company name field if the user selects employed for their employment status. It makes forms feel shorter, more relevant, less daunting. Responsive design isn't an add-on anymore. It's core to reaching users effectively on all devices and boosting those all-important conversion rates. It's just good business.
Makes sense. Beyond just fitting the screen, what about accessibility and maybe some more advanced form techniques? How do we make sure these forms work for everyone and are as smart as possible?
Accessibility is absolutely paramount. It's not just the right thing to do for inclusivity, often it's a legal requirement too. Forms have to be usable by all users, including those using assistive technologies like screen readers.
So how do we achieve that technically?
It starts with using semantic HTML, using the right HTML tags for the job, like label for labels, input for inputs, field set to group-related controls, and legend to title those groups. These tags provide meaning and structure that screen readers can understand and convey to the user. It's like putting clear digital signposts on everything.
So the underlying code matters, not just how it looks.
Tremendously. You also need descriptive labels clearly associated with their inputs, usually using the first attribute in HTML. And critically, don't rely on placeholder text inside the input field as the only label. It often disappears once the user starts typing, and screen readers might not announce it reliably. Robust keyboard navigation is also essential. Every interactive element, fields, buttons, links, must be reachable and operable using only the keyboard, with clear visual focus indicators so users always know exactly where they are on the page.
Okay, and I've heard of ARA attributes. What are those?
ARIA, accessible rich internet applications, attributes provide extra information to assistive technologies when standard HTML isn't quite enough. You can use attributes like ARIA required to indicate a required field, or ARIA described by to link an input field to additional instructions or error messages. They help bridge the gap for more complex interactions.
Got it. Making it work for everyone. What about making forms smarter, more dynamic?
Well, responsive form validation on the client side, meaning it happens right in the user's browser, is a big one. This gives immediate feedback as the user types. Think about checking if an email address looks like a valid format, or if the password meets complexity requirements in real time. It helps users catch and fix mistakes instantly, which drastically improves completion rates and reduces frustration.
Instant feedback is always good.
Definitely. And for building these really sophisticated dynamic forms, developers often use JavaScript frameworks and libraries. Things like React, Vue, or Angular provide powerful tools for managing the form state, handling user input, and implementing complex validation logic much more easily. There are also specialized libraries built on top of these, like Formic for React or Vuetify, which has great form components for Vue that streamline form development even further. The big takeaway here: accessible forms are simply better forms for everyone. They ensure a wider audience can use your systems effectively, which ultimately leads to better outcomes all around.
Okay, we have thoroughly dissected forms, how people put information in. Let's flip the coin now and talk about reports. When we're presenting data back to the user, what are the best practices? How do we make sure it's clear, insightful, and not just that confusing jumble of numbers we talked about earlier? How do we turn data overload into actual usable information?
Ah, yes, the art of presenting data. That's often the core challenge for analysts and designers, right? When we talk about report design, the mantra really has to be clarity over complexity. The goal is always to transform potentially overwhelming data into something actionable, understandable. And a huge part of that, especially in business systems, comes down to designing tables and lists effectively.
Tables. Okay. They
Yeah.
can get really dense really fast. How do we organize data within a table so it doesn't just look like a massive spreadsheet got dumped onto the screen?
Great question. Content alignment is surprisingly critical, as sources like UX World and Temple MIS emphasize. For textual data names, descriptions, categories always left align it. This creates that clean, uniform starting line, making it easy for the eye to scan down the column. Keep the line lengths relatively short if possible, maybe 30-40 characters, to avoid making users scan too far horizontally.
Okay, text left. What about numbers?
Numeric data prices, quantities, counts should always be right aligned. And if there are decimals, align them by the decimal point. This makes visual comparison effortless. You can instantly scan down a column and see the largest or smallest numbers, or compare magnitudes easily because the digits are lined up. For columns containing just images or icons, center alignment usually looks best and provides good visual balance. These simple alignment rules make a massive difference in how quickly and accurately people can read a table.
That makes sense. Aligning numbers by the decimal point, obvious when you think about it. What about helping the eye track across rows, especially in wide or long tables? It's easy to get lost.
Absolutely. That's where clear contrast helps. Use bold text and maybe a slightly darker background for table headers to clearly separate them from the data rows. Makes the structure instantly obvious. And for the rows themselves, especially in long tables, use either light row borders or, often even better, zebra striping.
Zebra striping, like alternating row colors.
Exactly. Subtle alternating background colors, like white and a very light gray. It creates clear horizontal paths for the eye to follow across the row, preventing users from accidentally jumping up or down to the wrong row as they scan across. Hugely improves readability in dense tables.
Okay, alignment and contrast help with reading. What about letting users actually work with the data? Sorting and filtering seem essential.
Essential. Data sorting should almost always be an option on relevant columns: price, date, name, whatever makes sense. Indicate sortability with small arrow icons in the headers, maybe with tooltips explaining. Click to sort by name. And provide clear visual feedback showing which column is currently sorted and in which direction, ascending, descending. Data filtering is just as critical, especially for large data sets. Allow users to narrow down the rows based on criteria. You might offer quick filters for common options or more advanced filtering interfaces for complex queries.
And making tables more interactive, clicking on rows, taking actions.
Yes, good table design often includes interactivity. Use hover and selection states. A subtle hover effect can show that a row is clickable or selectable. A clear selection effect, like highlighting the row background, shows which rows the user has actively chosen, often tied to checkboxes for selecting multiple rows for bulk actions, like deleting or exporting several items at once.
What about handling really large amounts of data that won't fit on one screen?
That's where pagination comes in.
Right.
Break the data down into manageable chunks or pages, maybe 10, 25, 50 items per page. Provide clear controls to navigate between pages. Show the total number of items and maybe let users choose how many items they want to see per page. And always include loading indicators when fetching the next page of data. Also, for columns with potentially very long text entries, use tooltips. Truncate the text in the cell to keep the table neat, but show the full text when the user hovers over or taps on the cell. Preserve scannability without losing information.
It sounds like giving the user a lot of control is key for effective tables, resizing columns, choosing what to see.
Absolutely. User control is huge. Column management features are often very valuable. Allow users to resize columns manually to fit their preferences or see more data. Let them show or hide columns. Maybe they don't care about 5 of the 10 available columns, so let them hide the ones they don't need to reduce clutter. Allow reordering columns via drag and drop so they can arrange the data in the sequence that makes the most sense for their task.
And taking action on specific rows.
Write row actions. For actions on a single row, you might put small icons like edit, delete at the end of the row, or use an actions drop-down menu if there are many options. For bulk actions, those usually appear, maybe in the table header or footer, only when the user has selected multiple rows using checkboxes. And for very wide tables with lots of columns, consider horizontal scrolling, but try to freeze the first column or two, like an ID or name, so the user always maintains context as they scroll sideways. Finally, ensure any link styling within table cells is clear and follows conventions. Blue text, maybe underlined, pointer cursor on hover so users know they can click it. Putting all this thought into table design transforms that potential data dump into a powerful, actionable tool for the user. It's a core skill.
Definitely sounds like it. Tables need serious thought. What about charts and graphs? They're supposed to make data easier to grasp visually, but sometimes they just make it more confusing.
That is such a common pitfall. And Redingen points this out very clearly. Overcomplicated charts and graphs often confuse rather than clarify. They lose all their potential impact. The solution: aim for simplicity and clarity. Design charts that are clean, easy to understand, clearly labeled. Minimize chart junk, unnecessary grid lines, borders, 3D effects that don't add meaning.
Keep it clean. Any other key tips for charts?
Yes, a really powerful tip, also from Redingen based on eye tracking. Make the headline the conclusion. Put the main takeaway, the key insight from the data, right there in the chart's title above the visual. For example, instead of just monthly sales, make the title July sales hit record high. Studies show people look at the title, then the chart visual, then often glance back at the title to confirm their understanding. So use that title to state the main point clearly and immediately. Remember, visualizing data isn't just about drawing shapes. It's about distilling and communicating insights effectively.
Headline as conclusion. I like that. Okay, this has been fascinating, diving into forms, reports, visuals. It feels like a lot of different elements. How do we tie it all together? How do we ensure everything across a whole system or even multiple systems feels cohesive and makes sense together? What's the glue?
The glue, the unifying principle, the absolute bedrock of a good, usable system is design consistency.
Consistency. Okay. What does that mean in practice?
Means tying all the different UI elements and interactions together with distinguishable, predictable actions and appearances. It's like making a promise to your users. If you see something that looks like this, it will behave like this, just like it did over there. Similar elements look and act in similar ways. As users learn this consistency, they build trust. They feel more confident, more competent using the product.
So predictability builds trust and reduces the learning curve. Again, hitting those core systems concepts of making things intuitive and reliable, are there different types of consistency we should think about?
Yes, UXPID breaks it down nicely into 4 main types. There's visual consistency, using uniform colors, typography, spacing, icons, layout structures across the board. Everything looks like it belongs together.
Okay, the look and feel.
Then there's functional consistency. Similar actions should produce similar results. Controls, like buttons or drop-downs, should behave the same way wherever they appear. Clicking a Save button should always save, and probably give similar feedback.
Makes sense. Behave predictably.
Third is internal consistency. This means all the different parts of a single product or system look and behave consistently with each other. The user settings area shouldn't feel like a completely different application from the main dashboard, even if different teams built them.
Right. Consistency within the product.
And finally, external consistency. This is about aligning your design with other products in the same ecosystem, or maybe with broader platform conventions, or even just with other products from the same brand family. Users bring expectations from other apps they use. Leveraging familiar patterns can make your product feel instantly more intuitive.
Okay. Visual, functional, internal, external. And the payoff for achieving all this, it must be more than just users feeling comfortable, right?
Oh, the benefits are huge and very practical. Design consistency leads directly to improved usability. Users just know what to do. It creates a much faster learning curve, reducing training needs and support costs. It definitely enhances aesthetics. Consistent designs feel more polished, professional, and trustworthy. It significantly reduces errors because users are less likely to make mistakes when interactions are predictable. And as we touched on, it strengthens brand recognition by presenting a unified visual and interactive language across all touchpoints. It reinforces the brand identity.
Okay, the benefits are clear, but how do we actually achieve it? Especially on big projects, maybe with multiple designers or teams. It sounds like it needs a really systematic approach, not just hoping everyone does the same thing.
It absolutely requires a systematic approach. It doesn't happen by accident. It really starts, perhaps surprisingly, with good research. Don't shortcut the initial UX research. You need to deeply understand the user goals, map out typical customer journeys, know what devices they use. This groundwork, understanding the users in the organizational context, is fundamental. It helps ensure the system you build actually aligns with their needs and how the business operates.
Research first, then what?
Then clearly define the user goals. What are users actually trying to accomplish with this system or feature? Going back to that travel app example, maybe their goal is compare flight options quickly or book a hotel within my budget. You need to design every interaction to help them achieve those goals efficiently.
So you're designing for the goal, not just designing a feature in isolation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Also, familiarize yourself with common UI patterns. Don't reinvent the wheel unless you have a very good reason. Users expect certain things in certain places, like a search bar often being in the top right, or a primary action button being prominent. Leverage those existing mental models. Then establish clear design patterns and a visual hierarchy specifically for your product. Create that intentional order and priority for elements to guide the user.
Okay, patterns and hierarchy. Then get down to the details.
Exactly. Ensure consistent UI elements. Branding. Strictly adhere to brand guidelines, logo usage, color palette, typography, image style, even the voice and tone of the text. Consistency here reinforces the brand everywhere. Typography. Use consistent fonts, sizes, weights, and spacing for headings, body text, labels, etc. Improves readability and navigation. UI components. Define exactly how standard components like buttons, forms, lists, cards, navigation menus look and behave. If one data table has pagination, maybe all data tables should offer it consistently. Templates. Create reusable templates with common page layouts or features to ensure consistency and speed up development. And crucially, pattern libraries and design systems. These are like the shared rulebook for the entire team. They contain documentation, reusable code components, design guidelines, everything needed to build consistently and efficiently. They're essential for managing design at scale, a real application of project management principles.
Design systems sound key for larger teams, so it's about making sure all the pieces look and behave the same.
Yes, and making sure actions are consistent. Predictable interactions save users time, prevent confusion, make workflows feel smooth. Users learn something in one part of the app and can apply that knowledge elsewhere. If you can sort a column by clicking the header in one table, you should be able to do it the same way in all tables. Also, don't forget to review your content. Use consistent terminology. Is it log out or sign out, submit or send? Pick one and stick to it. Pay attention to the structure and wording and navigation, error messages, help text, everywhere.
Those small inconsistencies in wording can really add up to friction, can't they?
They really can. Also, consider appropriate user defaults. Where possible, set default values or selections to the most common or likely choice to save users effort, pre-filling the current date or defaulting to the user's country. And finally, provide consistent communication and feedback. Users need to know the system's state. Did that toggle switch actually save? Is the system processing my request? Clear, consistent feedback for success, errors, or ongoing processes is vital for reducing frustration and building that sense of control.
That's a comprehensive list. Maintaining all that, especially across teams and over time, sounds challenging. Are there specific tools that help organizations manage this consistency?
Absolutely. The tooling in this space has gotten really good. Tools like UXPin Merge are fascinating because they allow design teams to actually use the same production-ready UI components that developers use, creating a true single source of truth. Figma is incredibly popular as a collaborative design platform where teams can build and maintain shared UI kits and style guides in real time. And tools like Storybook help development teams build, test, and document UI components in isolation, which can then integrate back into design tools like UXPin or be referenced by Figma libraries. These tools are really indispensable for implementing strong project management practices in the design and development workflow, ensuring everyone is building from the same playbook and maintaining that crucial consistency.
This has been an absolutely fantastic deep dive into the world of forms and reports. Let's try and bring it all home now. How does mastering all these design principles, usability, consistency, visual clarity, how does that translate into practical application and real career growth, especially for someone studying or working in business or information systems?
That's the critical connection, isn't it?
Mm.
What's really powerful is seeing how directly these design concepts link back to the core theories and skills you learn in systems analysis and design. Understanding these principles lets you create systems that aren't just functional, but efficient, user-centric, and actually meet tangible business goals.
So it connects back to those learning outcomes like applying economic and organizational models.
Exactly. When you design a form that speeds up data entry or a report that leads to better decisions, you're directly impacting efficiency and effectiveness, key economic and organizational concerns. When you design based on user roles and tasks, you're applying organizational models. When you focus on usability and feedback, you're applying core systems concepts. And when you visually design these interfaces, you're implicitly thinking about the underlying structure, the user interface, like use cases, the business process, like activity diagrams, and the database, like class diagrams. You're translating requirements into visual specifications using standard diagramming concepts, even if you're not drawing the UML explicitly at that moment.
And managing the design process itself.
That's a direct application of project management methodologies, planning the iterations, gathering requirements, managing feedback, ensuring consistency through things like design systems. It brings all those knowledge outcomes together.
So it's not just about making pixels look good. It's about applying a whole range of analytical and management skills to solve business problems visually.
Precisely. And from a practical skills perspective, actually implementing effective forms and reports based on real business cases helps you solidify your ability to use those analytical tools like use case, activity, and class diagrams to translate abstract needs into concrete functional designs. You're bridging the gap between analysis and implementation.
And the communication aspect. Documenting designs, explaining choices.
Absolutely critical. That connects directly to the writing outcomes. Being able to clearly document your design specifications, explain the rationale behind your choices based on usability principles or user research, and communicate your findings effectively in writing that's a core professional skill honed through this process. You're demonstrating your ability to choose the right analysis tools, apply them, and communicate the results clearly to stakeholders, whether they're developers, managers, or clients.
So really, mastering form and report design isn't just a niche skill. It's about owning your broader career growth in this digital age.
I truly believe so. It is far, far more than just aesthetics. It's about making systems fundamentally more usable. It's about reducing errors, which saves time and money. It's about driving measurable business value. Think better conversion rates on websites, higher customer satisfaction scores, improved operational efficiency inside a company. These skills are highly valued and directly applicable in roles like systems analyst, UX/UI designer, business analyst, product manager, project manager. Developing this expertise really does position you for a bright, impactful future, giving you the tools to shape how people interact with technology.
Wow. Okay, so we have journeyed through this really intricate world of forms and reports. We started with the basics, the definitions, looked at that iterative design process, underscored the absolute importance of usability, and even touched on the psychology behind every color and font choice.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground, from layout best practices, the importance of clear feedback loops, dealing with errors gracefully,
to the power of data visualization in tables and charts, and how that crucial principle of consistency ties everything together. It really hammered home that this isn't just about making things look nice, it's about making them genuinely work for people, making systems smart, helpful, intuitive.
Exactly, making them effective tools.
Remember that feeling we talked about at the start, that effortless form, that crystal clear report? That wasn't magic, was it?
Not at all. Hard work and good design.
It was the result of diligent systems analysis and design, applying these very principles we've spent this time discussing. Hopefully, you now have a much deeper appreciation for the intentional, thoughtful choices that go into creating those really seamless digital experiences. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. If this discussion sparked some new ideas for you or maybe clarified some complex concepts, please show your support. Like, subscribe, share this with someone else who might benefit.
Yeah, your engagement really does help us continue to bring valuable insights like this to learners like you, helping you build that foundation for your future career.
And don't forget to check out the description below. Lots of great additional resources listed there for you. Now, for one final thought to take away, think about the digital tools you use every single day. Your banking app, your course registration system, your favorite shopping site. Which ones really nail it when it comes to forms and reports? Which ones, well, which ones fall short? And maybe more importantly, how would you apply what you've learned today to make them better? Behind every tap, swipe, and click is a system that someone designed. Until next time, keep building the future one process at a time.